pretty well. One thing I have to warn you, I love this product. So if I start talking too fast, just kind of go, oh, slow down, because I get emotional about it. Basically, there's my family, the SimpliVity technology, and my friends. If you knew my friends, you'd understand why, but they're third. So, with no further ado, I'd like to start the conversation about SimpliVity and what we do. But before I do that, I'd like to just give you a lens to look through this technology, and it's going to help you grasp it quicker. There's a data storage challenge now in the industry where data storage is growing very quickly. And most data storage companies have approached it as a storage problem. And they're making bigger, faster, more drives per system. SimpliVity was the first company that decided this is a data problem. We need to virtualize the data. Much like VMware virtualized compute, once we did that and compute was virtualized throughout the globe, the data became the anchors to drag around data center to data center. Well, we virtualized the data to make more efficient use of it. And we feel as though that's the best way to skin that cat. So, data efficiency and the elimination of IOs, not how to handle more IOs, is what we're about, more so than anything else. So the way I set this up is the SimpliVity 380, since HP bought us, is now residing on the 380. What is it and what does it do for your data center? Very simple. So I'm right to the point. When we look at what the technology is itself, if I met you in an elevator and you said, you got 15 seconds to tell me what SimpliVity does, then it's very simple. You have the entire infrastructure stack that you see here on the left side. Well, SimpliVity feels as though that legacy infrastructure stack has become too costly and too complicated to procure it, implement it, manage it, and maintain it. So we've assimilated all the features and functionality that you see on the left there into a 1-2U atomic platform, the DL380, which also happens to be the most secure and the most commonly sold server in the world today. So now all information, all the technology below the hypervisor now resides in your server environment. We have integrated backup and replication. It's all in the same operating system that we have. So, by the way, it's true scale out. We go up to 96 nodes per federation now, and up to 750,000 backups per federation. Now, let's take a look at what we do and how we virtualize the data. Okay, what we really did is we've got a PCI card that has our secret sauce, our software, and some capacitors on it because we don't trust batteries. And what we did is, that is the point that we virtualize the data. So we pop the top on the server, put the PCI card in, and now all information that comes in, before it hits anything in the server, for server resources, we virtualize the data at that point. It's deduped, compressed, and optimized, once and forever. It never rehydrates. Throughout all tiers, locally, your SSD, your DRAM, in all locations globally. So wherever you have a SimpliVity node in the globe, there's a global awareness of what 8K blocks of data we have. So let's take a look at what that does. This is rather simple, and I understand that, but it's going to make sense in the very end. Let's say SQL sends a write down. It goes into this. This is the DVP, the Data Virtualization Platform. This is called the DVP from now on. It hits the data management layer where the work gets done, and the presentation layer just keeps the application apprised of what was done. So this block comes down. It's a unique block, so we actually do indeed issue a write, one IO. Next one comes out of Exchange. It's unique. We compress it, optimize it for transport, send it down to disk. Third one, the same thing. Now all of a sudden, SQL sends down a write. We already have that block. No IO request hits the system resources now. The same thing happens over here. It's not a unique. It's a unique write, not a unique write. So we actually put it down to. We just send an application pointer up to say, here's what it is. We didn't have to do an IO. Now, in this case, we had 5 IO requests. We only buffered 2. You know, it's not a big thrill. It's kind of like kissing your sister. That's no big thrill. At least it shouldn't be. But when I speed this up, take a look at what happens. See all these large, heavy writes coming into the data virtualization platform? Much less hitting the system resources. In fact, we have a 42-to-1 data efficiency ratio right now on our newer installs. Customers that use us for a couple of years, it's closer to 100-to-1, some over 100-to-1. And that's because the more you're using us, the more reference blocks you already have down, the less you have to send down to storage. So we eliminate 42 to 1 means we eliminated 41 terabytes of storage that would have normally come into that system. But more importantly, we eliminated 41 terabytes of I/O. It never had to hit the system resources of CPU, DRAM, or SSD, which we bought that to support the application. So Tech Validate talks to our customers when we book an order, and then they talk to us after they call them again after it's installed. And Tech Validate found that 92% of our customers, after implementation, saw the application performance enhanced by greater than 25%. 50% of our customers see it enhanced 50% or greater. And that's what you bought the server for. So basically, we offloaded all those infrastructure-related tasks of issuing I/O, tiering, backing up, replicating. All those infrastructure-related tasks are now handled by the DVP, so the server can pay attention to the application. That's what we do. In this case, the customer got a 10 to 1 dedupe. That's pretty common. We end up having a 90% capacity savings on all of your storage upon implementation, and that's 90% include of your production and your backups. And the trick is in the backup. So it's a little bit of a trick there, but you're still going to reduce your storage footprint 90%. The topology itself, you can just direct connect 10 gig backplane. The backplane, we recommend selling 2 because each of the DVPs is 1 per system. So the first platform we put down is going to be 2 for high availability. After that, you would need a 10 gig switch, and you just plug and play. I think it's table stakes nowadays. Basically, to just scale out most of the hyperconverged systems that you'll be talking about today. I'm sure you're going to see. It's plug and play, quick wizard. 1 click, you're upgrading, and you're moving along. Something very interesting that we do really well. Let's say this is our newest node, and you want to replace this one over here on the right, on the left, I mean. Well, in a normal environment, you've got a lot of migration paths. You've got to map LUNs. You've got to create the LUNs on the other side. You have to have policies. That whole migration takes a lot of work. With us, what you do is you plug this new model into the 10 gig switch. You come over here and you click on SimpliVity Evacuate. You go home and watch a football game. You come into work the next day, and basically it says evacuation complete. It took all your VMs with your associated data stores and policies and automatically put them in the system. Now you just come in, you get that email, and you just take it away, disconnect it, deregister with VMware, put it in DR, sell it on eBay, whatever you do with your old technology. We hope you don't sell it on eBay, by the way. Now, just as important as that scale out is that scale in. It's very quick. Also, you can add just compute with us, and this is unique to us. If you had a server, let's say you wanted to add 250 users to this, and it's a VDI environment, you're probably not going to need more storage with us because VDI is a very duplicitous workload, right? So with us, you can just say, you know what, when I have 250 users, I need more compute. Well, when we came into the environment, we probably replaced some servers. We probably have them in the warehouse. If it's an x86 server, it could be Cisco, it could be Dell, it could be, whoever you want. You just plug that x86 into the switch, and now the resources, the compute, the RAM, if there's storage in there, it all gets put in the general pool. So you don't have to make an acquisition of a server. You just take one you might have and plug it in and run away. It's off and running. All those resources come into the system. That's pretty unique, and it's something we're very proud of. We also have a gateway in the system. So it's, right now you can have a hybrid cloud. This is obviously a private cloud. We're virtualizing data globally for you. And now the public cloud is just a jump-off point where there's already a gateway in there, so you wouldn't have to talk to Nasuni or whoever it might be to add one. So, that was cool. What do we do so far? We virtualize the data. Now it really gets cool. The way we do backups and replication. This is in our operating system. We don't have a partnership, so you're not working with anybody else but us. And the way we do our backups, if you look at best practices in the backup world, you'd have, let's say you've got 5 VMs. I'm warning you, I write like hieroglyphics. 5 VMs and they're sharing a data store. This is your primary, and you want to kick off a backup. It's just going to snap that data store, and they're all getting backed up. This one wants to be backed up 4 times a day, and 4 times a day he's going to issue another snap of that data store, and they all get backed up. Obviously, we feel as though that's a tremendous and efficient way to do backups, invented by storage companies. That would make sense. The way we do it is we have each VM has its own data store. and we do what's called a full logical volume backup. We just have a metadata change to reflect the backup at that point in time. A metadata change is like 127K. It's not even a byte of storage. So after your first backup, all other backups are free. If you see a demo of us, you can take a 500 gig VM, back it up 10 times, and you'll see that the storage hasn't changed. We've used no storage. Very powerful. That's in our operating system. Now, if backup is cool, replication is even cooler. Instead of using this slide, let's use a real life example. The application is iBooks, and I buy War and Peace, and I back up all my books to you, and you live in, where do you live?
Copenhagen.
Copenhagen, and I live in Florida. I back up all my books to you. I buy War and Peace, it's 587,000 words. Normally you're going to take those 587,000 words, make a big VM out of it. There's some operating system information, VMware has identifiers, you put that all together, and you're going to put it through the pipe, and I'm going to send it to you in Copenhagen. Pretty burdensome. It's like putting a golf ball through a garden hose. It's a snug fit, it'll get there eventually. Most customers tell me that took a long time. With us, here's what happens. First thing I'm going to do is going to send you the metadata rebuild map. So if you have Legos, it's the directions to how to make the Legos and all the components in the box. And that map goes to you, and then I start deduping the book. And the it, he, she, general, pistol, lieutenant, sergeant. It's probably only 8,000 words that make up that book. You used over and over, 8,000 unique words. I tell you through osmosis, I don't send you anything. I say, here are the 8,000 words you're going to need to build that book. And you say, well, I already have 7,000 of them here from other books you stored. You can just pull 1,000 words over the network. Rather than sending 587,000, just pull 1,000 over. And then you rebuild that file in about 40, 41 seconds, slightly quicker than my honeymoon. Up and running, the file's on the other side. Amazing stuff. Really powerful technology. When customers see that, they're like, whoa, wait a minute. Turn that VM on. I don't believe that's up there already. Here it is, boot it up. So that's a perfect, I mean, powerful stuff. If you take a look at this, we've got a data center in San Francisco and New York, and it's pretty much a depiction of the same thing I just talked about, all connected all over the globe by the DVP. And now we say, okay, I'm going to run a local backup, and now I want to run a remote backup. So I'm going to send the metadata map over so you can rebuild it. And then I'm going to say, let me take a look at what blocks I have here, and then which blocks do I need that aren't there, and I only send what I don't have. Boom, run the backup, bring it up to the application, and restore. It's almost like, if you look at the English dictionary, it's this big Webster's book. There's 127 letters and characters in that dictionary. If you had the 127 letters and characters on an index card, and you had the mental capacity to just keep pulling them up for anything, any question you were asked and then give the answer, that would be a powerful way to go about life, rather than carry that big book. Well, that mental capacity is the SimpliVity software. And we only store 127 things and use them over and over, rather than all the information in the world. It's incredibly powerful. That's what I mean when we say we put in data efficiency. Backup and replication, really cool stuff, but false confidence unless you have good restores. So TechValidate, when they interview our customers upon booking an order, found that 6% of our customers were getting restores in minutes, 34% in hours, 52% in days. And then, I don't know, these 8% probably should have been out of work. That's a tough one, in weeks. After implementation, 63% of our customers are getting restores in minutes, because you're just restoring to the metadata file level. We just send the metadata over for the restore, you pull the data up, and it's rebuilt at that quick. 29% in hours, so 92% of our customers are getting very acceptable restores. These customers, you know what, we probably shouldn't have sold to them. You know, or at least we should have sold to them with a stronger backup for us. There's some things we don't do well, let's face it. Video is a challenge for us because it doesn't compress and it doesn't dedupe that well. We still have some video customers. I wouldn't say stay away from us, but we're going to put a lot of due diligence into that because we're not going to sell you something that doesn't fit your business plan. So, right now we virtualize the data, free backups after the first one, and incredible replication, incredibly efficient. It's like, how can this get any better? One pane of glass, we manage this environment for the vCenter. So rather than having a typical environment, you have a hypervisor, then you might have your backup software, your replication software, WAN optimization, storage. We're all managed out of one pane of glass, vCenter. If you're already in vCenter, you can manage this customer globally, just for one pane of glass in vCenter. Here's vCenter, there's a tab you would click on, and it pulls up this. Now I promise you guys, I did not say, ooh, that's a good one. Let me have that for my presentation. All our customers look like this. 678 terabytes are in the environment. This, if that wasn't in the way, this is your production. This is local backup, and that's remote. This is what's being stored on disk, 7.7 terabytes. Why is that? Because of the backup. That's where we get the big bang for the buck. It's really, we eliminate a lot of messy storage in the backup. Production is production. We do get some compression, we do get dedupe out of that, but it's the backup. 670 terabytes of I/O that never had to hit the system. Incredibly powerful stuff, really efficient. That's why the applications, customers say, okay, Bob, you're going to take all that gear and you're going to put it in a server. What's the trade-off? Oh yeah, that's right, I forgot to tell you. The application is going to perform faster because we took all that workload off the server and put it into the DVP to run the infrastructure while the server now pays attention to the application. Hyperconvergence with better performance. So here's what we do for your data center. Here's the guy with all the screens, and he's trying to manage this mess. Let's take a look at what we do. First, we come in and we assume the server environment, because we are a server with storage, backup, WAN optimization, everything all into one. And with vMotion, we assume the responsibility of the core storage next, where you would vMotion that into us, and once you do that, it's deduped, compressed, and optimized at ingestion once and forever, never rehydrates. So you don't need post-dedupe or data to main box, or whatever. You don't need that, because it never rehydrates. It's done once and forever at the beginning, through all locations globally and all locations globally. Right? And all tiers locally and all locations globally. So now what happens? We vMotion that storage in. We've already deduped and optimized. Unless you use a WAN optimization for application acceleration, you're not going to need it for transport anymore. Deduplication on the post end, we already did that in inception. And it's never rehydrating, so you don't need it again. Obviously, much more efficient utilization of the network because we're sending 1,000 words, not 587,000. Cloud gateway is already in the box, and it's an all-flash array. Now, with those kind of data efficiencies, there's plenty of flash in there to handle most of your applications. Once in a while, you're going to have a $1.2 million I/O application that really needs to be focused on. And what do you do now? You face that up with a flash device that dedicates to that. You do the same thing. We've got Nimble, we've got 3PAR. Obviously, we'd like SimpliVity to run the rest of the environment after that. But there's plenty of flash in there, 70–80% of the time, there's plenty of flash to handle all your Tier 1 apps. So, the flash need goes away. The data protection is part of the operating system. It's already in there. We've really cleaned up the bottom of this schematic. 2 + 1 is our most common first sale. 2 for local backup and 1 for remote. If you want DR, it's 2 and 2, and you're off and running. ESX is running in the box. VMware is running in the box. So basically what you've got is the SimpliVity controller, the DVP, your VMs in the box. Basically, our server's already in there, and we eliminate much of the service, so you're going to have less of a licensing cost with VMware, Hyper-V, whatever it is, because we're making the whole environment more efficient. What we're bringing you is the best of both worlds. x86 low-cost web scale type of performance and economics with the best of breed capabilities to run the enterprise. Data protection, data efficiency, performance, your applications are improving, and one global interface in order to manage it from. So now you say, okay, how about some real life examples? And most people are saying, yeah, all right, show me. Well, here's a customer, 21st largest finance company in the world. This is what they look like. They had 2 data centers in every hemisphere. We're good at that global share, right? They end up saying, okay, we're gonna actually, these guys looked at AWS, they looked at the cloud, they looked at all manufacturers, and they said, we're going to AWS. They brought us in and they said, wow, we're gonna try this. They tried this for 6 months, and when they ended up coming back to us saying, what we're really doing is we're doing an analysis financially of you guys. And we found that you guys are gonna save us $100 million over the next 5 years. You'll give us a 10 or 11% floor reduction. It ended up being 11. And these marketing slides are nice, but what we did for them is even nicer. That's one of 3 rows that they had in their data center, and this is what they have now, 3 racks of SimpliVity. 1 data center in each hemisphere. And the transport of the data efficiently across the globe is seamless.
10 minutes, Paul. 10.
What's, 10 minutes, thanks. Here's another customer we have that's 166 rack units. They have EBAs, DMXs from some EMC. They have, obviously, they've got 4 panes of glass managing it. Now they've got 12 rack units. Obviously, this environment could have been more efficient in the first place. We should give about a 10-to-1 floor footprint reduction. This is a little bit better than that. They've got 2 nodes 100 miles away for DR. Here's one of my favorites. $1 billion company interviewed by theCUBE, and the customer had 3.3 petabytes in the environment. The backups are taking 48 hours over the weekend. Sometimes they'd actually finish. Well, they were in the mood to retool the backup, obviously. They ended up buying us to replace the whole infrastructure, even though they were just looking for a backup refresh. That doesn't happen very often. We're usually too expensive for a backup refresh, but he had a very complicated backup. Now, they're running the entire IT in SimpliVity. It's up to 4.4 petabytes. It's on 80 terabyte of hard disk. These are our systems when we had a hybrid box and it was all hard disk. 80 terabytes. You go in his data center, he's got 6 servers and a bunch of dust where everything else used to be, and his network coming in. And he's running that environment really well. His backups are taking under a minute. He backs up every 10 minutes. His backups are taking under a minute, his restores are even quicker. Great story. So, if you look at the evolution of hyperconvergence, it's been around a long time. Back in 2009, everybody was procuring products like this, the whole stack individually. A lot of us still are. We all closed the doors, all the hyperconverged companies. We've been in business in 2009. As far as, let's go create our own Frankenstein monster, and let's come out with it. The first to come out was pretty much integrated racks that were pre-integrated. And then there was a couple companies that did a great job of converging, and they blazed the trail. They were converging the server and the storage into one, but you still had to go out and buy a backup, a deduplication, WAN optimization, replication devices, things like that. 43 months later, SimpliVity comes out, and it truly, all of those capabilities are in the SimpliVity DL380. All of those capabilities are in there. And it's all in the operating system and the way we virtualize the data. So, quick recap. Inline dedupe, compression, optimization. Virtualize the data. Predictable performance. Because we virtualize the data, the system resources can give you predictable performance and better performance of your applications. Integrated backup included. Integrating the operating system. There's no partnerships that we're bringing somebody in to do the backup. It's in the operating system. And by the way, the first year we shipped a product, VMware was a competitive product, gave us the gold product for the best backup and storage product in a virtualized environment. That was pretty good. Resilient and highly available. We used RAID, very highly available. And linear scalability, I think, is table stakes. All of us have that. Whoever you're looking at, we all have linear scalability, scale out. With our efficiencies of 42-to-1 as an average, and you can go up to 96 nodes, I'd say we have linear scalability. This is the key, global data mobility. The way we do that iBooks and the way that we're sending 1,000 words instead of 500,000, and that global awareness of 8-bit blocks everywhere in the globe, that's powerful, really powerful stuff. And then finally, global unified management. One pane of glass, you manage this all through vCenter. We have customers managing 25 locations through one pane of glass in vCenter. Now, why would you want to do this? If we look at the industry trends, traditional IT is down, spend's down 1.6%. The public cloud is up almost 30%. We're all competing with that. All CFOs are telling people, I want you to have a strategy for the public cloud. Well, we have a white paper that will tell you that we're 22 to 49% cheaper than AWS. White papers, we paid the guy to write it, right? So when a customer says you look at AWS, you slide that across the table like a hand grenade without the pin. You don't want it to blow up on you. We have companies, including that large finance company, that came back and said, we did the analysis, you guys are 43% cheaper than AWS, so we're not going to AWS. So that white paper has been validated by many customers. If you want to talk to Peter or the folks at Arrow, we can get you a copy of that to review it. Bottom line is hyperconvergence, and this is in 2017, I don't have the numbers yet for 18, grew at 117, 116%. That's where a lot of this is going. It's either the cloud or it's hyperconvergence, and I think you guys are feeling that. We offer this. This is what our customers get: 220% ROI, return on investment. The paybacks over 6 months, 73% overall cost savings, and 90% data center footprint reduction. And a lot of that 90%, as you can tell, is in the backup, and it's the fact that all of the devices that you saw on the left-hand side, WAN optimization, deduplication, replication, backup, all of that is in the operating system, in that DVP part, very powerful. We are software defined by what's on that, but we're hardware accelerated, and that the hardware acceleration of the DVP takes over all those tasks without burdening the processors, because that holds our software and runs our software. So we don't tax the system. So, I know it sounds like you gotta be kidding me, that sounds too good to be true. That's why I love it, it is, and customers love it. But it's not the first time we've seen the hyperconverged story. It's a very powerful story. It's not the first time it's been done. That was a heck of a lot harder, if you ask me, all the things we used to carry around in our car. This is real, it's here. We're very pleased that you guys stopped in to hear about it. We'd love to talk to you further about it. Obviously, that's why we're here. So thank you very much. I think we wrapped up right around on time. Minute to spare.
Yeah. Any questions?